This is the Spirit and Wellness Show. News and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson.
Yes, hello. This is Harry Wilkinson, your host of the Spirit and Wellness Show. This is the show where we take a look at the days and weeks events, happenings in the world of politics, technology, health, wellness, everything that affects our lives, everything that we hear about on the news or through media or through social media or anything else that kind of affects us on a broader scale, or that we're all interacting with as a society or as a collective. And we look at these things from a higher perspective. So if you are a listener of the show, you know what I mean when I say higher perspective. I am talking about, well, for want of a better word, I guess you could call it a metaphysical approach. But it's more than that. Much of what we thought metaphysics was is really turning out to be what physics is. As quantum physics begins to evolve and more discoveries are made, or more theories are confirmed, we start to see that the world around us that we thought was very solid and made up of solid atoms that form to create the physical world that we live in, isn't the case. That what we experience in the real world, the so-called real world, are waves of energy, patterns of energy that collapse as we pay attention to specific things. In other words, everything around us is energy, and we use that energy to create the mundane world that we live in. And when I mean mundane, I'm not using it in its sense of mundane meaning boring. I'm using it in the sense of mundane being, everyday life, what we go through every day, what we perceive to be our world. How we get up every day, go to work or go to school, whatever our daily routine is that we do. That's what I mean by the mundane world. And we, on a higher level, that we have a dim awareness of, if at all, we are creating this world that we live in. The stories that we see, the world around us, even the people that we bring into our lives, and specifically the larger players, the people that play large roles in everyone's life, from all of the controversial actions of political figures like Donald Trump, to celebrity figures, sports figures, all of them. We bring them into our world, we bring them into our existence to play a role. And we play a role as well in these scenarios that we create. So the idea is to understand that, and to understand that what we are creating are essentially not things of either negative or positive value. They are experiences. They are experiences we create in order to just simply have that experience. The same reason why you pick up a book, or you watch a movie, or you listen to a kind of music, because it gives you an experience. An experience that you find thrilling, you maybe enjoy for a while, or maybe even scares you a little bit, or or what have you, but it's something that you um, ultimately find joy in. And on a grander scale, that's what we do in this world, even though it may seem very scary, or in other on another end of the spectrum, it may seem you know terrific and awesome and all of those things. Uh, we are creating these experiences out of the energy that we are, which is a sort of a divine mind. That's what I'd like to use. That's the term I'd like to use, because we are all connected in this sense, and we create ourselves, these versions of ourselves, in the flesh, if you will, to act as sort of avatars, interacting with the world and these creations that we make. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the understanding that we have here. Uh, it's not by any stretch of the imagination, it's not a religious point of view. There's no dogma here. I don't uh, ascribe to any particular set of organized religious belief. I don't espouse them. I do talk about them, and we'll be talking about them today. We're talking about the concept of New Thought and New Thought churches and their take on spirituality. I think it's a fascinating topic. I've had people. I mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, a couple of weeks ago, and got quite a response of people wanting to know more about New Thought and exactly what it is. And a lot of them are people who are in or have been involved in New Thought churches, but haven't really understood what the term means. Nowadays, in our current time, you see that idea reflected in churches like Unitarian churches. Unity is another church that is, birthed from the New Thought movement that really began in the 19th century. And I covered that last week, and we talked about Mr. Quimby and his writings and his work with mesmerism and healing with the mind. And that's really the beginning of the idea of, or the New Thought ideas. And we'll get more into that in a moment, because I want to continue that discussion. And we're going to look particularly at several types of churches that were early New Thought churches and that are often confused because their titles are similar. And both of them get confused with Scientology, which has nothing at all to do with New Thought. So we'll talk about all of that. So hopefully that clarifies all of those sort of conflicting ideas. But first I wanted to talk about, as we usually do, we usually talk something about what's going on, in the political world or in our international relations. Because, these are things that increasingly, as we've been told over the media and over and over again, and it seems to have some basis in truth, we are experiencing, and again I'm using that phraseology because of the approach that I take to this, we are experiencing, because we've chosen to experience, the idea of deep polarization in belief systems in this country, in which in some cases extreme behavior arises on either side. So, what's going on now with our new president is quite remarkable. I spent a good deal of time, I think a year and a half on this show. We talked about, dedicated exclusively to the idea of our being in what I call the transition era, where there's rapid change in our society on how we approach things. A lot of it's driven by technology. And I mentioned that this particular phase of, you know, the transition era is back and forth. It's push me, pull you. It's twisting and turning. There's not a straight path. Some things happen rapidly because the awareness is there, and the change happens, you know, like dominoes falling. That's what happened with, you know, the gay marriage amendments and movement and awareness of that, and very swiftly, that's changed to the point where, you know, I believe all of the states in our country now uh, validate uh, marriage union between same-sex partners. But, you know, that turnaround came after decades of complete resistance, decades where you couldn't even talk about such a thing. Uh, a great example is, you know, um, and this is not too long ago. We're talking about 25 years ago, when in the Clinton administration, they had to put in place, you know, don't ask, don't tell uh, policies for members of the armed services. Uh, so the idea was that you weren't supposed to tell what your gender or what your sexuality was, and no one was supposed to bug you about it. That was the idea. And that's where we were, and even that was pretty controversial at the time. And now, complete freedom. It's amazing what happens, and it happens because of consciousness. You know, we solve problems, we create progress through things like protests and through, you know, political action and through legislation. But those things are not. Those things need to have to be used as tools in service to a consciousness that's ready to use them properly. When you use them to uh, as the exclusive means to create change, if you use them when the consciousness is not fully there, well, then it doesn't work. Those things, the problems that we have, don't get solved through political solutions, and they don't get solved through military solutions, and they don't even get solved through economic solutions. Those are tools, and they can be helpful tools in creating change or solving problems or whatever it is you're trying to do. But they are not the answer. The answer is spiritual awareness and consciousness. And once that's there, then those tools are there and can be used quite swiftly and quite effectively to do what it is you need to do. So what we're experiencing is this, as our consciousness changes, is this back and forth, this push and pull. And as I mentioned, and you know, this also came when I started talking about the transition era. It dovetailed into, you know, we started talking about it in 2012, when, you know, all of this talk about the Mayan calendar, you know, ending and all of that happened. And the idea of that was that, yes, the society that we have been used to is going to go through rapid change. That has ended. And so during this time,